Hi, welcome back to another episode of Know Before You Buy, the Things We Love and Hate. Today I am joined by Jennison Asuncion, one of the leaders in our industry. And Jennison, go ahead and give people the too long did not read of who you are.
So I'm Jennison Asuncion. I currently am at LinkedIn. I head up Accessibility Engineering Evangelism. I'm also co-founder of Global Accessibility Awareness Day, and just recently took over as chair of the Lighthouse in San Francisco.
Excellent. There's a lot in there that we won't cover today, but maybe we have some future potential, eh?
Yeah.
Because this is based on, what we do in our general lives, tell us a little bit about your home situation.
So I live in an apartment. I rent an apartment in downtown San Jose. I've been there. I recently moved to San Jose, but I've always rented. And and of course, one of the things I was looking at when I was looking at different apartments were the appliances to see if there'd be any accessibility.
Yeah,
gotchas.
Renting is its own nightmare, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
We've had quite a few conversations with renters in this program, and the big thing is people end up with thermostats they can't use.
Right.
And for some renters, they can't afford to get the accessible ones, let alone get the management to let them put it in. So it'll be interesting to hear when we get to that for you.
Sure.
So we always start this out with what are your hates? What are the things in your apartment like, oh my God, or even in your previous one? You don't even have to talk about your current one. What is like the thing that just drives you crazy?
From an accessibility perspective.
From an accessibility perspective, yeah.
Currently in my current apartment, I have one of those flat stovetops.
Oh. Yeah.
Right?
Is it one of the quartz stovetops or an induction one?
We'll say quartz.
Okay.
Yeah. Now the actual oven, I had to put tactile markings on because it was all touchscreen.
Okay.
Same with the microwave, of course.
Yeah.
But in terms of things that bug me, I guess it's mostly the stovetop. I don't use the thermostat.
Okay.
Fortunately, we have really nice weather in San Jose.
We do, don't we?
So I can just open the windows when I need that. But yeah, that's basically the big pain point is the stovetop.
Yeah.
I have an old style washer dryer with actual dials.
That makes life nice.
Yes.
So they're in suite, so you've got those.
Yeah.
So you do your best to make sure those things don't break down, because if they replace them, you're in trouble.
It's gonna be a touchscreen.
So, do you have any tricks to people who have flat top stoves that you've learned, or do you just do you cringe?
No, there's a level of muscle memory. Like after someone showed me when I moved in, like where the burners are. That's kind of important to know, so your muscles do remember where things are that way, or you can kind of guesstimate. So there is that. And what I could have done, and I was thinking of doing, which I didn't, was there's edges that I could have put like a little tactile marking to know where the burners were.
There's nothing stopping you from doing it still. That's the thing, is if it gets to be a pain, you can deal with it. There's a product on the market that I've really wanted to try out and see if it would actually work for us. And it's not clear to me that it actually will do what it's due. The advertising makes it sound like it's exactly like what we need. And it's called Stove Guard.
Okay.
And it's supposedly something that you put on your stove so that if stuff spills, it's, you just pick this thing up and throw it in the washing machine.
Yeah.
And, my husband and I have been thinking that, one of these days we might find somebody with a laser cutter and try and see if we could do like a heat-resistant rubber and just cut where the burners are. So then, the blind person can put this template down on the stove, and then, it's actually easy because then you just put it in the hole.
Yeah.
And I think the Stove Guard might do that.
It sounds like it could.
But it's kind of like I'm kind of chicken to try and order one, because first of all, I don't have a flat top stove to try it on.
Got it.
I have to find somebody who's willing to do the experiment with me.
Got it.
And you go to their website, you tell them what brand of stove you have, and they already know the measurements and where everything is. So I'm wondering if that's going to be something. But those flat top stoves, I remember walking into a Living Skills kitchen once, and I looked at the person who built this Living Skills kitchen, and I go, why did you do this to your poor blind students? Why did you put these flat top stoves in here? They're terrible. She goes, well, they have to learn how to deal with them because they're going to have them in apartments. Yeah. And it's like, okay, but, look, teach them how to cook first, then teach them how to deal with it. Yeah. All right, anything else? Anything else?
No, everything else, like I said, there's dials on the washer dryer, so thankfully that's there. I don't use the dishwasher.
Okay.
But that has buttons and things on it too. But I suspect that everything is menu driven.
Everything's menu driven, yeah. So what do you really like? Like even electronics or stuff. Like, do you have a good stereo you bought or anything?
Oh, I've got smart speakers everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm a big fan of. There's always music playing in my place. So I resisted using Alexa for a long time because I didn't. There was something about becoming dependent on this thing and talking to it, but it's good. It's working for me.
It is working. I mean, there's times that you want to call it an idiot. I mean, there are times I want to call it an idiot.
Yeah.
And I don't only have one ecosystem in my house. I have both Google and Echoes in my house.
Got it.
And yeah, there's some days that I wonder, if they have half a brain at all.
Right.
And then there's other days where it's just a pleasant experience. But it is, we've only gotten to expect better from them, I think is what the problem is. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, is there a skill you use on your Echo that's like really, oh my God, that just made my life easier?
Honestly, no.
No. Okay.
No,
yeah.
I just stream music. Stream music. I get Alexa to remind me because all of my appointments and stuff are in my head.
Yep.
So it's nice to have that to scaffold and to remind me,
those reminders are, critical. The older we get, the more we need it, man. I mean, it's like, my husband and I will be talking about something and it's like, gotta get this prescription from the pharmacy, but it's, 10 o'clock at night and I can't call them. So, remind me at 10 a.m. to call the pharmacy or it's critical for us. And, I love those skills. It's just, I just want so much more from it. I'm such a demanding person.
Wow. Someone has to be.
Luckily, I have the ability to influence someone to work on that.
Right.
So, yeah. So if you had to put an engineer in the room who does this stuff, what would be, the one message you'd want them to get? Like, give us an elevator pitch here. Tell us, Mr. Designer, Mr. Manufacturer.
Am I asking them to build me something or more of a larger message?
The larger message. This is the big picture.
So the big picture is certainly, include, like, if you're going to do any kind of user testing, include people with disabilities in that. Don't make assumptions. Include us, certainly. I think that's to me that's the biggest thing.
Yeah, and that is what every single person has said this
good.
year. A couple of them last year said something slightly different, but that is the big message. It's ask us. Don't assume for us. It's really critical and really important.
Now what about like a product?
Yeah, no, I'd love you to tell us what a product is you want.
Well, it's more like, because everything is going touchscreen, I'd love there to be just like one universally available, like an app that could, I could fire up on my phone and it would connect through Bluetooth or whatever to the appliance and I could operate it. It would figure out what the menus are on that particular appliance. And then I could just use it.
Like, there's a lot of talk about the IoT, Internet of Things, and the fact that they're going to, this Matter standard.
Yeah.
It'd be nice if Matter had a here I am and here's my instruction set included in it.
Yeah.
I think that's what you and I need to do. Let's go to CES next year and push for that. Let's do it. I think that's a better big picture, Jennison. You hit it right on the head there.
Because and something that you could do it in any apartment, with any appliance, and then we don't have to think about that when we're looking around for apartments.
Yeah.
And even forget apartments, even houses. I mean, if you're going to buy a house, you also still want to have appliances that work for you.
Yeah, I mean, a friend of mine bought a house, and immediately she threw away the washer and dryer that were in there, because they weren't
Touchscreen.
accessible.
Yeah, yeah.
She threw away the dishwasher that was in there, not accessible. So, she threw another $10,000 on the price of a Bay Area house, which is a hell of a lot of money.
Well, and the other thing is, I mean, you and I work in digital accessibility, and that's all more about content and websites and mobile apps and things.
Exactly.
People don't. There needs to be more work on the hardware and like you said, the appliances, which is the crux of your channel. Like, there needs to be more awareness. Like, this is just as important, and arguably more important than any of the other stuff, because this is part of like just living.
Yeah, it's daily life. I mean, our many years coffee pot broke a couple of months back, and we needed to go buy a new coffee pot because, God help us, we're in tech, we can't live without coffee. And we could not find one that was accessible.
Right.
And we went into the store. We had 3 models that we thought were potentials, and there was no damn way I was going to buy something online and have to return.
Yeah.
So we were in Williams-Sonoma, and while the guy was pulling the thing off of the shelf, because it was, of course, the one I wanted was on the top shelf, because it wasn't a very popular one, I was just kind of poking around at all the other coffee pots that were like at customer
regular level.
Yeah. And all of a sudden, 2 of them started shooting out steam because I touched something.
Oops.
It's like, for crying out loud, why do you need a touch screen on a coffee machine? It's like, and why in God's name did the store have them plugged in and loaded? I mean, if that had been a child, it would have been really dangerous.
And I know, Lucy, what I'm about to say is like preaching to the choir, but the reality is, by making those more accessible, it's not just for us, right?
No, it's not.
And particularly older people and people with mobility disabilities who can't touch a touchscreen, or who have trouble, maybe they have shaky hands or whatever.
Yeah, it's really critical.
Now, how about adding, we talked about that, like the app that I would want, where it would be universally make all appliances accessible, but maybe make it so that you could do it by voice instead too.
But you can't have it only be by voice.
No, of course
because
not.
Then you got the person with CP.
Yep.
Or
No. It's definitely multiple modalities, right?
Yeah.
So your app, you could operate as many people do with if you're blind, you use a screen reader. If you can't use your hands and you are able to vocalize, then you use voice control. But then there's certain other you'd use the accessibility features in phones to make it work for you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But don't assume that everybody has a phone.
Correct.
Because there are still a significant portion of the world who can't afford the phone.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, we don't need to get into economics today, but it's a thing. So, I call something usable when I can do everything through the app. I call it accessible when I can walk up to the thing and make it work.
Yeah.
All right, Jennison. Well, this has been wonderful talking to you today.
Hey, thanks for inviting me.
Thank you.